All right. We should be live now. So it's Friday, October 3rd, and we are having a code review weekly workshop here. And in our agenda, I kind of inserted that first wanted to congratulate Chao with the maintainership for recently becoming. It was long pending. I'm glad that that you finally gathered all the you know all the links and all the docs for the issue. Yeah, congrats with that.
Thank you, thank you. Now who got an American merge?
Did you have your first merge?
I tried to do it yesterday, but I think even though the MR to update the YAML file was merged, there's some I had to be added to that group
Oh
to
yeah, yeah,
have
yeah.
the yeah. So and Poli like I was waiting for Polina. So yesterday what happened was Jesus, what happened? Oh, we had that emotion SAS kind of error. It happens in your GTK when somehow we
Oh yeah,
couldn't
yeah, yeah,
find
yeah,
the
yeah.
styling
Mhm.
file and whatsoever. It has been happening quite recently, I find. I thought it was just all the container query migration that we were doing, but I think yesterday there was something more.
It
We were
happens
able
to
to,
me all the time.
yeah, but yesterday you just can't get out of it.
Uh,
Like,
Wait,
Reboot your laptop.
like I think someone did that too when they couldn't get rid of it, and
Yeah,
then in
yeah.
the end
it's probably a process that doesn't actually kill or get refreshed doing something with fight would be my guess.
yeah,
But like,
so we re
it's not like worth my time to figure it out when those things happen. So I'm like, okay, let's just.
so yeah, so we reverted a patch upgrade with Vit, Vite, Vite. I call it Vit.
Vid.
Uh, Vit.
I think it's Vid.
Oh, oh no,
Is
we're
it?
divided. We're divided. No, no,
But
no,
it's,
no.
I mean, like, if we're not getting like funny with English, it's Vite the way it's spelled. So
Anyway, so we pinged the version.
Sorry to add to this. Holy War. I think it's from French, right? So it should be it should be.
Do we need to bring in a French?
Give me a sec. I think it was even on their GitHub
Yeah, it
page
means
somewhere
fast,
up
I
top.
think. Uh,
Um,
yeah, so
yep.
to give
So
the content, this is the MR in
I
the
have to
agenda.
share my screen. Yeah.
there you go.
Vite, vite.
I'm, I'm sorry.
That's that. I just went to Google. It did say Vite, so
Yeah. French word for quick.
yeah.
Uh, so I thought I could merge the MR in the end. I had to rewrite the MR, and Cos, who was not sleeping, uh, saved the day. But I don't know
So
if we got anything else out of that one? I wonder.
um to give some context and maybe discuss the case, so yeah, it was some upgrade of Vite, a patch upgrade, and that caused many developers to have issues with that. We actually have troubleshooting page for Vite, but that didn't work. Only worked like running Vite development separately.
Is
So
it is it though like isn't having a troubleshooting page for Vite a signal in and of itself?
I think we have troubleshooting page for most of our tools, which which is a good thing. We even have GTK Doctor, and that's a very helpful thing in some cases. At least for me, who doesn't know at all about Ruby failures, etc. So yeah, we had this incident, and Alex C provided an MR, and Chow participated there, and Chow, you had to push some patch to
Yes,
this, right?
so I think we need to go one step back for Adam. So we have these things called GitLab dependency bot. They're also referred as Renobot. So for certain packages, they're hooked up to bump the package automatically, and it will ping one of the human maintainer and to get it merged. So that was merged yesterday morning, where we went from 7.1.7 to 7.1.8.
If you go back
And
to that one though, like that upgrade one for a second, Why did it not have a tier 3 pipeline?
Which one is this one? This one?
That's an eagle eye.
This is new. This is new. Sorry, we
Oh.
haven't got here
Oh.
yet. We haven't got here yet. So the original one is, oh my god, where it is. The original one looked like, I don't even know where. It looks something like this, but it has tier 3 and immersion and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that one was causing troubles, and then we didn't want it to go like on its own. So I removed the, what do you call this in English? Upside down arrow? No,
The automatic update, yeah.
Yeah, so we removed that and then I pinged it. And I did cause opened a issue to investigate to be able to upgrade past that. I did some investigation. It seems like people were saying there were issues with it, and then like eventually on their side, they say they're gonna revert this one because people
So
are
the
having
core
trouble with
package
it.
has an issue at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I don't know why they didn't make it at least a minor version upgrade. It was a patch. In the
Right.
end, this is what they did. They released 7.1.9, and then this is where we're at, that we're gonna go here. And I think I don't know what Stanislav is waiting to approve it. But that's where we are right now.
Uh-huh. And you're saying like you didn't like this set, you had a issue with the SemVar that they were using?
Well, even here, people were saying, not this one. There were some other ones. People were like, "Why this is not a minor?" I don't really know what
The
what
fix or the
change is,
breakage?
though. The fix was
Bug fixes are
not.
typically the last one, right?
I
Is
guess
the
so.
yeah
But they were
the
saying that there was something else they changed. I guess they didn't know it was breaking. That's why they made the fix. When they made the fix, they didn't know it was breaking. And then our cult leader Kenzie Dot was here to tell them things were. I actually have no idea what the changes this is, so can't say much. But that was the drama yesterday.
It looks like it's just waiting for processes to die or to be finished. That's why I see the change.
I think the symptom we saw was the app would just keep restarting, but it
Mhm.
never actually finished restarting. That's why we keep seeing that error. But the
Yeah,
styling is not related. But
interesting.
that's
Good find.
yeah, and then it was also a good learning moment for a maintainer, because like I was like, how does this rental bot is working? And I learned there's like a whole thing, and it would try to keep upgrading the MR, sorry, the package every hour or so. What was the schedule?
Yeah, I mean, the renovation bot's a great idea. We're not the ones that come up with the concept, of course, but the whole concept, but it's like it leaves you a long rope to hang yourself with. It's good to keep on the edge, but like randomly getting pinged to review a Renobot thing when you look at a diff, you're like, yeah, it looks fine to me.
Yeah.
Is kind of like I wonder if we have a setting where we say we stay like one behind or something like that, or two behind, or I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe in days, like 30
Yeah,
days
right.
behind something.
Yeah, or at least, or yeah, days or release numbers or some combination of that.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know how frequent this happens. So this is the first time I remember since I joined. I joined last summer. Okay, moving on. A bit more context. So there's this thing called conventional comments. People use it here. You'll see it in code review where people prefix their review comments with, is this blocking or non-blocking? The person who came up with this used to work at GitLab. He's seeing us on the internet. Hi, Paul. So we have this little extension that allows you to do this in the GitLab world. So if I attempt to make a comment here and I switch to plain, you will see all these buttons. and each one has a blocking and non-blocking. That's how it works. What I was asking a few days ago was, I feel like we probably don't need a button for it, but I find in this case, I had a suggestion. It is non-blocking in this MR, meaning it's out of the scope essentially, but it's a related topic I would like to see have a follow-up issue logged and be addressed in the future. In this instance, we are asking we're adding feature tests for a feature. I want us to add the automatic accessibility tests in a separate MR, knowing that we may have violation we had to fix before we can enable that test. I think in the philosophical term of conventional common, this is just a non-blocking suggestion. So we don't need another button. I think the argument we had initially on Slack was, I can't remember, from Doug maybe?
Yeah,
We should
definitely me.
encourage follow-up, which we have found to be tricky to know they will be actionable.
It depends. Like, it depends. Like, I know when I get a follow-up from a reviewer, I will most likely immediately try to just go do it, either on the MR or next. But like, as our cleanup issue bonanza has been going on recently, I've noticed a lot of the follow-ups I create for other MRs for people never have been done for years now, literally years. And so like that even lessens my faith that those things are going to get done. And it makes me be even more opinionated during a review about
Well,
block.
yeah, I had kind of the same experience. Before I started creating follow-up issues myself, I kind of leaned on the contributor to create the issues. I just said that, hey, maybe we want, a follow-up here. And that never got addressed. So at some occasion, I visited a couple of my previous MRs, and they were like years in the past and never followed up. But still, we had node blocking claim there saying that, hey, this shouldn't block the MR. So
Yeah, there was like something in the last couple of years that came up where people were I was in a discussion where people were having a different viewpoint of what non-blocking meant. Um, over like like I think people were thinking about it too much. Meaning, and so I think I put something in the code review guidelines to really explain what non-blocking meant in the documentation somewhere. Of course, our part of our issue with our code review documentation is it's at least across two different sites. There's some in the docs site, and then there's some in the handbook. And I believe there's something in one of
Which
those
one
that
is
we
the one I am looking at?
That's the doc site one. There's also a handbook one too, and I'm not exactly sure where either
Oh,
thing are covered.
I'm only aware of this one.
So I will give a link for the other one. If you go to the handbook site and just look up code review guidelines, there's guidelines and there's value as well. I will link it in our
Adam has already shared in the chat.
Oh, you got it. There's one, and then there's also another one, code review values. Review values. And that is yet another thing that probably has stuff scattered across them. There's that one. And let's look up the word.
Oh, I see. So this one is more like the housekeeping things around the code review, like maintainership and all that sort of stuff.
Maybe it's more like how you workflow type of thing. I'm not
It's
sure.
basically how you get to maintainer.
Okay,
It's
there's
a lot of that. And then this one is the actual the best practice to do code review. And the doc page is linked in the handbook page.
Yeah, let's see, become yes, but the values one, what does the values one say? Yeah, the values one does kind of cover this, and I think this might be the one that everybody just skips over in that used to be a checklist on merge request descriptions is now a just a link. So
So
I don't think
is
anybody.
this what we're talking about?
No, yeah, yes, that one for mandatory decorate. Yeah, there we go. That's where we talk about non-blocking.
Yeah, so for me, right, with this and what we talked about, I think fundamentally is the MR's author's responsibility to take care of the MR and whatever comes follow-ups with it.
Yeah,
I know every single group handle those sort of follow-ups differently, and it depends on the scope. Some I may
yeah,
just do it right away. Some
yeah.
tag the
That's
manager.
I think that's the problem with follow-ups is people then put it in their team's queue and then nobody's going to prioritize it. I find that stuff kind of annoying because I feel like they should just be done. I would consider it part of the issue that that the thing was originally spawned from, and and it also gives me vibes of manager of one, and we should lean into that and just take care of technical debt things. It doesn't have to be a main priority unless it's like a huge rewrite or something. At that point, it's not really a follow-up, right? Type of a concept.
That
Yeah.
can there be like a thought that could, suggest some different architecture, but is not, an immediate follow-up, but something to consider for
Right.
the team?
That's more something I would consider. Yeah, like that's something that should get in a queue. Something like, yeah, this needs test coverage is something that should just be actioned.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm,
Those are the two extreme cases,
I
right?
would
Yeah, so
say
see,
Go ahead,
if
sorry.
Adam.
the sorry, I would say that if the action is small, it should be on the onus of the person that made the MR2 action. But if there is enough actions that require further input, then you should make the ticket, I would say, because at least it's logged and could be scheduled into future work or evaluated at a later time. But if you don't do that, there's the option that the person that the action has been will get dropped and just not done at all. So maybe there's a point in logging the information for someone to pick up, even if it's not yourself.
Yeah. And that's where I also verge into not making follow-ups too and making more things blocking if it's
that's harder than your soul, dog.
The logging of the feature of the issue is a very, very straightforward process. If there's an open thread, there's a button. Oh my God, I need to open MR.
You just had it.
Right
Yeah.
here. So you could literally create issue with one click. Mind you, I typically ask people, can you beef it up a little bit because you're gonna forget what it is, and especially if you're bringing it to the team to schedule. So I think that part isn't the thing. It's really just what Doug is saying about the inconsistency between the teams. So for us, we have a front end backlog refinement every single month. It's the week before the milestone ends. So the EMs can take a look at everything that we think should be scheduled. If it hasn't been addressed already, from these follow-ups are portions of it. Sometimes it ends up being open for a community contribution because may not, it's just a small little refactor we may never get to ourselves, and we think it's a quick win for a community contribution. Sometimes it become a deliverable for another engineer. Sometimes it just yo-yo. But like, yeah, I totally understand. Like it's you're handing a ball to someone else essentially after that point during the review. So
I found myself like if I'm the maintainer and this is like the last round, if I just resolve the threads without an issue, they probably would get lost. Like if I don't create a follow-up, they would probably get lost. So I tend to, in the sake of iteration, if there is a non-blocking thread that hasn't been addressed by the contributor, I tend to create an issue out of that, assign the contributor, and explicitly say that this is still, a code review kind of discussion. I'm not setting a task on someone. I'm just, logging the conversation so that it could be continued, and the contributor would be responsible for, tidying it up, adding context, or and prioritizing that inside of their own team. Unless I create that issue, I think that those threads get lost in the EMRs in the past.
I follow the same practice. It's not when I as a reviewer create the follow-up, I'll spawn the follow-up, I'll assign the person, but then I may drop a comment and say, this is up to you to refine, close, answer. I'm not asking you to actually do it's what you said, give them a task, but it needs to be guided by you, basically.
Yep, yep.
I'm happy to leave it as the way it is and see if I really needed that button, or something to do, or like dig more into a follow-up. But like mind you, I was in the reviewer stage, so I wasn't necessarily was the person be like, oh, I need to make sure everything's clear here before this goes in. So things may be different.
Yeah, I think that we're hitting here is like the ambiguity that reviews can be, because we can't make strict rules about everything. So everybody comes up
No.
with like a different way of handling things. And I think that's okay, because we can't define the world and we can't define how everybody's different reviewing
Yeah,
in
yeah.
certain ways, right?
The conventional commands are kind of trying to aid with that, right?
Yeah,
What I'm
they're trying to
yeah,
remove that ambiguity, remove
yeah,
that
yeah.
variance, all that thing. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you are the person decide if it's blocking or non-blocking when you use the extension, which is why the extension is so good, because it's a rule with flexibility.
What I'm trying to say is that if we are looking for ways to add follow-upable, like kind of dimension to that, maybe we should start looking at the, conventional comments in the first place, try to update the rules there. Maybe Paul would be kind enough to, to collaborate on that and try to find ways to have it defined there. And from there, we kind of draw our extension. I think that extension should follow the conventional rules.
That's a good point. The single source of truth.
Yeah, because otherwise they're not conventional, right?
Of course, he does have if minor, but I don't quite agree or understand that.
It, I think though those are not sure. I think he had like, synonyms kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If I understand it correctly, non-blocking is things that you have. If minor is things that are wrong but won't be so wrong that the issue can't be accepted. Sorry, non-blocking is that, and then if minor is things that are up to semantics, like you could do this in a shorter, you could simplify this down. And then there's an argument of if I leave it fully expanded and don't use shorthand for everything, it's easier to read from an outsider looking in, whereas the shorter hand is less lines in the change, but you need to have more of a subject knowledge to even get started, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like for those cases, I just use nitpick.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Oh.
It's competing with nitpick and non-blocking for me in my brain.
I think we are discussing different things. If
Yeah.
minor, as far as I understand it, means that there is a description of that. If the change is minor, then we can include this. If not, we can create follow-ups. I think that's the intention.
Yeah.
And So
Yeah.
if it's minor, please do that in this MR. If it's not minor, if it's a huge change, huge effort, then we could create follow-ups.
I hear you. I just never found a use and I've seen this for a while of like thinking like, when would I ever use if minor versus non-blocking? Like, I don't understand.
We
It,
don't have a button for
yeah.
that, right?
No, we don't, but I've
Oh, that's why it's not popular.
Yeah. It's a
it's too
add-on.
ambiguous for me. Like people
It's an
are like, I
add-on.
think it's hard enough for people to understand what non-blocking versus not means in with the thing, let alone you add if minor. I'm like, you gotta go figure out what that means now.
I haven't used it myself either. I think I usually use, the word-in for that inside my comment.
I'm gonna move on. Before I move on, does anyone has a code review? Or they want
I
to
have a
talk about
code review if we want to review it together. Was it
Yeah.
a little bit?
Yeah. So this one, I'll give a bit more context and we can do it probably a bit later. But essentially, I actually have started working on this with what's his name? Duel. No. Where's the here? Oh, I was on this page. Yeah, so we have this thing called reviewer roulette. What does it look like for context is this guy. So if you have MR open, it will ping each of the domain that you may need approval for as corresponding to the approval code owner rule. That's kind of here. Where is it? There's a block here about that as well. So in this case, it's pulling his MR. She needs a front-end review, 2 stages, a QA review, 2 stages. These are the same, in my opinion. I don't know why they're kind of like separate out in here.
There's logic about if you have a QA person embedded in your team. The QA is more about if there's a QA a directory that's being changed because we have a QA directory and end-to-end.
The end-to-end directory. Got it.
Yeah,
got
and
it.
test can be a QA person if you have one assigned to your team. Not a lot do anymore, but it's usually just mirrors the back-end reviewer. If the back-end reviewer is on it, it'll pick the same
I
person.
see. Thank you. Yeah, so there's a few things that kind of like change or make your availability to this roulette differently. So in your YAML file, you have your sort of row of that project, like reviewer, maintainer, that sort of thing. And there's different emojis, so you can put limits on how many you read, like numbers. When you're on PTO, these sync with the stuff you get from Workday, because Workday sync your Slack, and we also read your Slack. We won't get you to review. You won't show up. There's also like something like this M is only suggested reviewer on projects or maintainer for. Once you become a maintainer, typically, you will only get maintainer review of that specific project. I checked the code yesterday. That's exactly what it is. So like if you're a maintainer, in the code it says only maintainer review. So what I want is to have maintainer to opt in for the first round of reviewer review.
What do
First
you
of
mean?
all, I want to do that myself. So I still want to get reviewer review.
Oh, okay. I think this has come up before, right?
It
Where-
is, but I would like to take the smallest controversial approach where I can just give myself the option where for folks like me who can opt into that. So you could put an emoji up, be like, I'm a maintainer, but I also want to read first round of review. That's all I want. And then we can go from
You mean updating your YAML? So you have both reviewer and
updating the
maintainer.
Slack, the status of
Would
GitLab. So I'll
would
have the
updating
emoji up.
if you updated the YAML, would you get the real reviews, initial
Well,
reviews?
I wrote, I know it's moved to a gem, but I rewrote that area a couple of years ago. So it's not going to show me as the person who wrote it because it was moved to a gem. But it uses the bank of, it'll go against the team members YML. It'll grab their reviewer, all the people that are reviewer, put them in a bank. It'll do the same for maintainers, put them in a bank, and then it'll do a sample to get the against, of course, negating these things and peeling the people out according to this, right? And then it'll determine, it'll pull a sample and it'll pick the people. I think right now, if I remember, I'm not sure if you are in one, you can't be in the other, but you could look at the code and see it, find it pretty easily.
So yesterday I was here. This is basically the Boolean that decide that you only get the maintainer review is if you have the maintainer.
Sure, sure,
But
but
I don't know about the both part.
right, and that's what you really want to be, right? Because you don't want to take yourself out of maintainer, right? Because because what the maintainer does, it does an either or, it looks like, right? It's like I didn't even know that M existed. I'm not sure. It's interesting.
So you're saying
it'll be in here somewhere. Not this file, because it'll be around wherever the spin logic is.
yeah, we'll need to.
We need to look, okay, GitLab team members. Where is that team members? Wherever the reviewer and the list are built, that's where you want to have your injection point. That's where where it'll be. Team members, there's Slack team members, but you need to find like where the reviewer list is built and where the maintainer list are built, and that's what you need to modify. Or it'll be around that area, let's put it that way.
Data fetcher. This is data fetcher.
Yeah. You need to look around, the word to look for is spin, because that's,
how can I search within here?
you just push T, or yeah, that'll work too.
But this is file name.
Yeah, not that. Sorry, you were right. The search thing will
Yeah. I can try to experiment this. This was easier what I was going for. I was gonna add an emoji.
Yeah, everybody's got emojis. I don't think emojis scale. I think the use of them in here is a poor thing to do. Like, and this has come up before. We're like, okay, I have 2 set on my profile. What does it mean? It means nothing. We're really like hacking it just to use it for this, right? Like it's really not something we should be leaning into too hard. But that's why I'd like to say like the more holistic way to handle this would, if it doesn't affect anything else, let's put it that way, is to update your YML to make yourself available as a reviewer.
Yep.
And then we need to just allow Roulette to be okay with that logic. And that's what we're not sure of, is if it's okay. Is it okay with that logic today? I'm not sure it is.
We had an imbalance in the reviewers and maintainers. I don't know what's currently.
More people becoming maintainers, but we are hiring more, so we will have more.
So that is the question I don't want to touch. Gents. No, like I just want to give
this still allows you to opt in. This allows you to opt in, but it's a little more permanent than just flipping an emoji.
Yeah, and then we can philosophically think about that question after what it is. I think I'm pretty sure front end is actually 3:1 ratio for every 3 main.
Yeah, I agree that it's out of scope of current discussion. Like if someone wants to be a reviewer aside the maintainer, I think it's totally fine. And I'm aligned with Duke that I don't quite like the emojis. It's a hack. I would prefer just keeping the reviewer entry in the Teams YAML, and
yeah, maybe
that's how we approach.
Maybe I'm just trying to think like, what does that break? Maybe this introduces a new concept of like maintainer reviewer. I don't know. Maybe we can't have 2 entries. Maybe it's just something like that. It all depends like what does a new entry break, with everything else that consumes it versus
I think we even currently can have those entries, so that's something to consider that some people might have that already,
right.
and that could enable for them.
So its backend is a little bit over 2.1, and then front end it's 2.1. So it's like 2 maintainer, one reviewer, like double.
Yeah. I think in general, like what if you were to like say, let's take it further and say like philosophically, if we were trying to say like all maintainers should also be reviewers, what does that break? Like as far as like weighting, right? It would mean that everybody is in the pool for review. So that means less people are going that were only reviewers are going to get reviews. So that's going to create an imbalance for people there, right? And it's going to like increase probably the you know like the pool of reviewers, but is it going to speed anything up? Or is it going to take weight off of other people? I don't know.
It depends also on the time that required for maintainer and initial review time. Like maybe maintainer review is longer, maybe it's shorter. I don't know.
Yeah, and then there's also the follow-on effect of how this affects our pipelines because like I know
Oh yeah, oh
when
yeah.
I'm a reviewer, I'm a back-end maintainer, but I'm a database reviewer and I'm a front-end reviewer. If I approve, it causes more CI minutes to be used in the initial review than other people because it puts a tier 3 pipeline which runs the entire CI pipeline.
But that one we're gonna run eventually anyways before the MR get merged.
But you will run it more frequently.
Oh, right. The subsequent pipeline.
Yeah, and then my review gets dropped, and that's annoying too. If they push an update when I'm only the original reviewer, they're the maintainer review, it gets dropped, but then it goes back in my queue because they reset the approvals because I'm a maintainer, and it resets on new commits.
Yeah.
But that's a separate issue. It's separate but similar, you know.
Once again, that's the reason I don't want to do this systematically. I just want to have a way. I can explore a little bit on my own what happened if I put 2 in the YAML file.
Yeah.
I will go to add, by that I mean I will go ask to can you read the logic and let me know what it is and I can report back. But I did put out a message to my team because I'm mainly doing the first round of review with my team, and I told them please still ping me for the first round, and so we can still have this nice little triangle as well. But anyways, that's me. But we can do the code review.
Yeah,
Process a question. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, I think it makes sense to have that stored in the YAML, and it makes sense to check all other teammates for that entry because I think that some could have that left, from their review error and still stand there. Like by doing that change, you might introduce someone else into the reviewer pool that could be unexpected for them.
Yeah. Right. It feels like you know, like in the end, it feels like, and this has come up before, right? Where like, can't we just build roulette into GitLab as a feature?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
See, we've gone far with that. That's
That did like this has come up all time. I've gone down that path. It's even with like conventional commits too, but
yeah, I
like
know.
I've gone down that path too, and like say like we should do it because it feels like we're all no matter what we do in the roulette, we keep fighting what GitLab is doing in the product because it's just a matter of like the whole approval things and how my approval gets dropped or like how, you know, if I'm a first round reviewer and all those types of things, or and how like roulette should really be improved to like load balance, you know, and like it's so right now it's just sample, but like you know I've had ideas about how to load balance this, meaning like look at everybody's review thing and pick the people who don't have a lot of reviews and how many they've done in the last 30 days and be smarter about it, but like have held back because like we don't want to keep on enhancing in there versus something that's being driven by the product, you know, product, but then we're not allowed to put it in the product either, so
Yeah, and there's also one known issue with the current approach is that the danger bot gives a feedback like could be a week before the actual review is assigned. So by that time, your load would be quite different than the initial dual suggestion.
Yeah, and then the whole thing of we took away the concept of opting out because too many people are opting out with busy, right? So you can't really opt out. The only limit you can do is with a 2 now, right? And so nobody can opt out, but now I find that people are actually looking at people's statuses and allowing them to opt out, not picking those people, when that wasn't the intention of removing the opt out at all. So people are soft opting out, basically.
Okay, before I move on, I'll just say, so every single thing we talked about falls within code review, and Kai is also PM for source code for a while. I feel like he probably can tell you a lot more of why it hasn't been productized if you book a coffee chat with him. And he's very nice if you haven't met him. It's very funny. He does the gosh, I was gonna call it the skateboard on the water. Surfing. It's a skateboard on the water. Anyways, Kaz has a thing about pipeline.
Yeah, Duke mentioned that some extra pipelines might run when we hit approval as if we are maintainers and we review code and we might have pipeline 3 run earlier. And that reminded me of an often time concern, the small one. Like sometimes I push code to MR and it's a draft and I know that there would be a lot of errors there. I just want to, offload that from my local and have it stored somewhere. And sometimes it's easier for me to review code that I produced in the MR because I'm used to that than in my local. So I sometimes push and I don't want to have anything wrong. I know that we have Expedit, pipeline Expedit, I think.
Have you used CI skip as a Git? There's a Git thing. I used it years ago. It didn't work for me to actually
Mm.
skip CI in GitLab, but so I haven't tried it. But there is an actual Git thing that we should be observing that you can flag in your Git commit when you push.
So it's a Git commit that is flagged. I
Yeah,
never
what?
heard of that.
So there's a CI skip. Let's see, like Git CI skip. Let's see if I can ask Claude about it. Yes, if you put CI skip in your git commit message in brackets, I don't know if I believe it, if this is really what I usually see, but let's see. I'll put it here. That. Ugh.
It's on the
CI
docs for the CI pipelines on GitLab.com. So
yeah. And that's how it's done, right? With what I put there in the doc, Adam. Or I think it's like .ci skip you can use too. But yeah, there should be something like automatically you can tell Git when you push it up to skip CI. I tried it, like I said, I tried it once a few years ago. I didn't see it working, so I haven't tried it since then.
Yeah, thanks. I haven't seen that. And Adam, thanks for linking the docs. I haven't seen that. I have to try that. But it's, you have to be mindful that you don't want to run a particular commit, and sometimes it's just something that I want on the MR itself.
There's a
Oh,
label.
that's
There's a label.
Mhm.
If you search, I'm not gonna do this to Paulina's MR, but see all the things you can skip.
Yeah, I saw that, but there's no, basic skip.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Oh,
related because
this is
like
not what it is.
pipelines are like, yeah, usually that's something you put on there and then you rerun a new pipeline. That's what usually those ones are about, which is kind of like
Okay.
different.
apparently you can do it with Git push as well.
Yeah. Interesting.
I wonder how that would be marked
What's
and how
CI
to.
dot skip? So that's the one I used to try, and when I tried it, like I said, once I saw it kick off a pipeline, so I'm like, all right, forget it. But it should work. I was probably just doing it wrong.
I wonder how to undo that. Anyway, yeah, thanks for sharing your inputs. I'll try to explore more on that, and I'll try to get back to you with the results. And we had NMR on our mind. I think it could be a good opportunity to jump to that if we.
Oh, oh dear, it's all Ruby.
Oh, you mean
Oh,
my
yeah.
my review?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you
Oh,
still
sure.
want to share that.
Yeah, okay. So I was mid review when this started. So I'll just start on like where I started. And so this is a merge request to create organization user transfer service. So they want to transfer a group, create organization, a group user, something like that, to another organization, which is something that the tenant scale organizations team is working on. So it has a bunch of queries in here that were created or that are new that the person pulled out into the description that look good. I opened up each one of these. Well, I wouldn't say they look good. They looked, the person added context about them taking long, and this is the second MR in a series of doing this that I reviewed, I guess. And so this kind of busts our guidelines. So if I was to look at our query performance guidelines, it says 100 milliseconds. That's what our goal is. Not a hard limit. Okay, good. That means we have some leeway, right? I would think. Then there's some more differences. If you're in a migration, you could be a little different. Concurrent migration, a little bit more, and then other things where we allow even more, right? But in general, if it's in the foreground, we try to keep it to 100 milliseconds. I know that this person, because I asked them on the other MR for this code that they are adding for this transfer, this is going to be in a background process in a work Sidekiq worker, so that it may not show up in this merge request because they're just making the service layer. It's not a vertical change. It's horizontal right now. So they're just delivering the layers. So that means I can, let's see, is there any, I mean, it's not a background migration, but background migrations mean that there are things that get kicked off into a worker in the background. So maybe this is kind of similar-ish. I mean, it depends on how it's feeding back to the user. You know, if the I don't know what the UI looks like because I don't think they've created it yet, or but if the UI has some sort of like status spinner or something like that where they expect these things to just be a process that takes a while, maybe there's some leeway here. If it's something that's like, I click it and I expect, in 5 seconds for the thing to be done, then like this could be problematic, right? So I'm just looking at this and I see first of all, I think I'm being added as what kind of reviewer am I? Because like I said, I'm a reviewer for front end, back end, maintainer, and a database reviewer. So I'm pretty sure now this is where they weren't following this because they said that maybe, there we go. That's why that they picked me. So they did label it at least, so that's great. I don't have to guess.
Yeah.
But now looking at 2.5 seconds, that's like, how many times is that more than 100 milliseconds? It's like they're really pushing my sensibilities here around like being okay. As a reviewer and not a maintainer, there's a little more leeway here for me to say okay, but let's see what the maintainer does, and I can feel like I could approve, but I should look at this. So I'm looking at this. This is our Postgres AI where we use I don't know, shallow clone, thin clone of the database that we can't really see the data inside, but we can do queries against the production data. So that's what they did. You see, this is one of them. If I look at the explain, which can tell me if indexes are hit, that's what I'm really looking for. I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, an index is hit. Okay. There's not much I can suggest here easily to say, let's change something, because like usually it's like, okay, is an index being hit? If it's not, then like that's an easy thing to say, like, okay, well, maybe we should add an index and this thing is being filtered. So that being said, there is at least one where that is true. So this is one, and this takes 1 second. Not as bad as the other one, but still 10 times what it should be. So this one I'm looking at, and this I'm looking at this. So I'm staring at that. Filter is telling me it got either there's not an index that it matched on, or Postgres decided not to use the index. Which it can do if it thinks a more efficient path exists. So it hit the index of namespace ID here, but this either tells me there's not a composite index to match these two things together, or it chose not to use it. So at this point in time, what I would do is probably go look at the DB structure file to see if there is an index. And then if there is, then it's not much I can do because Postgres is making a decision not to use it.
In this case, it feels like we are trying to find namespaces that have project. Would it be easier to find projects and then get their namespace?
Let's look at this. Let's see. So he's doing an update, and he's doing project namespaces. So this is like user namespaces. Or is this what that is? Project user namespaces, all those things get ambiguous to me. I think this is technically what you would consider a user namespace, because user namespaces can't have nesting. They can only that's where it's different. Like, so projects get attached to the namespace directly, and there is no possibility of subgrouping underneath your own namespace.
But why the type is project? The type project is for projects. Can a project be a namespace?
Yeah, there was like this work they were doing that got dropped, which was to flatten namespaces and projects into one thing. So for namespaces, but then that got abandoned for the work with organizations, and I'm not sure where that mess ended up, if that's what we're in right now or not. I'd have to dig into the MR to see like where does this query come from. Because like that's part of the problem here is like, okay, this is great here. What I would really like to see though is cross-linking into the actual code change where it's being called. So for instance, I would like to see right here an inline comment saying here is the analysis, and then that link be used in the description instead of the other way around, which it is right now, which is in the description. I don't know where it is in here. I gotta use some math, in my head, because like, Rails does the active record thing where it's not going to show up as like the query that it looks like in the description, right? I'm not going to see this, Yeah, most likely it's right in, I don't know, is it in, I guess it's in here. It's right here. And of course it's highly, there it is. This is probably one of them. Here's user namespaces. That could be the one. This feels like highly duoed to me, because what I've experienced with Duo, which I'm sure you all have, is like
we are the next subject.
Separate functions and methods is a good thing, but AI takes it to the extreme where it like really harms readability. And
sorry to cut you. I have to drop. I wonder if I drop whether the translation,
that's fine.
broadcast
I think we're at time anyways. But that just just shows like how nuanced, another thing of how nuanced reviewing can be. You know,
Have you been doing the database reviews for a while?
6
When
years.
did you use 6 years? Oh, no. You haven't brought that. I think you didn't brought the
No, he did.
database
He did.
reviews. You did?
Oh no, he did a backend one once.
The
And then
backend,
I was like,
yeah.
oh, this is no, because the last time we did database review was Terry. I was like,
Uh,
have a look at it. Yeah.
Because I have no idea what's happening there. I know
Yeah,
we have
same.
these performance things, but yeah, I kind of have a clue what's the index, but otherwise, yeah, it's out of my mind. But yeah, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for giving more context there. I think
Yeah.
it's very interesting, and I think this is a piece that is often missing in our sessions to have more, you know, database reviews, maybe other project reviews of what's happening there, how the different rules there
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, I have to drop now. Thanks for the
So
thanks
we'll
for the
just
session.
end it
Thanks for
here,
the discussion.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
Because
And
well, I can drop and you can continue the conversation if
I
the
don't know if
broadcast continues.
yeah, I don't know if I could, how much helpful I could be during that review either. So I think, okay,
All good.
one question. Are we okay to make this public?
I'm stopping now.